Hello everybody, I'm Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art, and we are a community of watercolorists. And you might think I'm not a watercolorist, but give this a try and you will be, okay? We use that term loosely. It's just about enjoying it, getting together, painting. We love it. So we do a different picture every week, different painting, and this week we are doing the Amethyst. And I love this one because it's all about value. If you look here, it's one color, so it's more monochromatic. And we're just working on our darks and lights, and with that we can get a great painting. So we break it down into 4 steps for you, and the first step that we're gonna do today for our painting is we're gonna put in our dark values. Second step is our medium values. Third step is our light values. And the last step, we're gonna do this kind of rocky bottom and a little bit of texture in there, so just a little bit of detail work.
The old rocky bottom.
The rock bottom. So the colors we're using today, cyclamen and hyacinth blue. Now both of them are kind of on the purpley scale. I wanted to use 2 different colored purples just because I like color. I like mixing things up. So we kind of just mix these together as we go. But you'll see in the painting that some areas are a little bit more pink. That would be the cyclamen. And then that really rich purple is the hyacinth. So I like to just put those on the outskirts of my palette. And I'm using 2 brushes today. I have a round 6 and a round 2. My go-to brushes, I can do most of the projects with these 2 brushes, so they're great for pretty much anything. Okay, let's get started. So when you think of value, we sometimes kind of associate it with color, but value is actually just between light and dark, like how dark to light something is. So it doesn't really have anything to do with the type of color it is, it's just kind of more how strong that color is. So just for example, if you're looking here, this is a dark value over here. See how dark that is compared to over here, which is a light value. Now with watercolor, in order to make something have a lighter value, all you need to do is add water because that will make your paints more transparent, which will let the paper show through, and it acts as kind of like our white paint. So instead of using white paint to lighten up a color, we just add water, let it be more transparent so you can see that white paper through it. So let's start with putting in our dark values. So I'm going to kind of mix my cyclamen and my hyacinth over here.
What is cyclamen? How is that a color?
You know, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that name right.
Cyclamen?
Cyclamen? Some French. There's some light French for you. And I'm really just going to go off the reference photo that we provided. So if you have our kits or a subscription, a reference photo should be right in there with it. Or you can just look on our website. We have a picture. And you can just kind of go off that. And then as you can see here, I have it outlined. We provide outlines in the kits, or you can just download it off of our website. And what amethyst is basically like when you're doing gems or crystals, it's like a big blob that has different like facets to it. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Yeah? So like
facets.
So different, and the light is hitting them differently, which is why they are different values, which is what gives them form. So just kind of follow along here. I have sections outlined of where the dark and the light will go. And what I like to do is I'll go right to the line here, and I just kind of fill it in. It's just kind of an even wash. And this has a lot of paint on my brush, so I'm not grabbing more paint, I'm just still going, following these lines. You want to try and make your lines as straight. I know that sometimes with outlines or when you're tracing, they can get a little wobbly. Just kind of see if you can make them as straight as possible as you go. Now I'm doing some smaller sections in here, and that might be scary with your big round 6 brush. So if you need to move to your 2 to do the smaller sections, feel free to. Or you can still try with your 6 and just be they have that really fine point at the top. So you can still do smaller sections with that. You just got to be light with your pressure.
You don't have to say it so snobby-like. If you have to use it too.
If you have to use it too. No, don't feel that way. It's whatever feels right for you. So I'm just kind of going through and following where these dark sections are and filling them in. Now sometimes, and I know this might sound silly, but maybe you've experienced this, sometimes when I'm looking at a painting really, really hard and for a long time, I have trouble figuring out where there's like, whether it's like a medium value or a light value. And so what I like to do to kind of help me, you know, figure out my values is when you look at the painting, just kind of relax your eyes and unfocus your eyes. And I know when I say this, he laughs every time like I'm crazy, but it works. You just kind of like sit back, you relax your eyes, and then automatically the dark and the light shades will become more clear, okay? Give it a try.
Sounds real.
It is real. You need to try it. Okay, and if you got to turn your paper around as you go to get like these nice straight lines, because I've noticed for me, my lines, it's easier for me to make a straight line if I'm kind of going across as opposed to like up. So if you got to turn your paper around to do that, do it. Do what you got to do. Here. And as you can see, I'm not really dipping my paintbrush a lot because this is such a dark value. I don't want there to be a ton of water on my brush because that's going to lighten up this color or lighten up that value. But you still want to make sure there's enough water on your brush to where you still get a smooth line as you go. And I just did a section right next to it. As you can see, these two are right next to each other. And what I do as I go right next to the sections on these gems is I leave a really thin white line in between so they're not touching. So just kind of follow your outline, and whenever there's like another section that's outlined, leave just like the thinnest white line that you can, because a lot of that is like glare off of an edge and we want to make that clear. So we want to leave that thing just white. Here, I got another one here. Sometimes I'll outline the whole thing first and then just fill it in. Okay. And then there's kind of like, this one I'm still going to consider like a darker value. But I'm going to add a little more pink to mine just for a difference on this side. So I just mixed in a little bit more cyclamen. I honestly have never heard that color before until I started painting with it. I'm like, oh, this looks pretty. I'm like, cyclamen, what is that? Okay. And then let's see, looking for my darks here. I have another dark here. Now this one is going to be a little bit different. We're going to start off dark and it kind of transitions actually. So I'm going to put in the dark and then I'm going to rinse my brush, pat it on my paper towel so it's just damp, and just kind of lighten that color. And I'm going to do that one more time so it's a nice smooth transition from dark to light. Here, and I have that same thing on this side except it's dark here at the top. So same thing, I'm going to put in my dark first. So most of these are just different values, but there are a couple that have like a value change within them, which is what we're doing right now. We're putting in our dark first. Kind of have that go down a little bit, add some water. and keeping that color going. Rinse it one more time. So just through rinsing my brush a couple of times, I have a nice dark to light transition, or an ombre.
Or an ombre.
Or an ombre, another word for it. Okay, I think we filled in all of our dark. Now we can go to our mediums. So I'm just gonna take that same mixture that I already have on my palette here of this strong color. I'm just gonna like pull some out and just add water to it. Just straight on my palette. So automatically it should become a lighter value. So I'm going to start right here, this big guy in the middle. And remember to leave that thin white line between sections here.
What if you don't?
If you don't, it's not a huge deal. Just what might happen is the dark section that we already painted could bleed into it, which isn't like the end of the world. And it might even be dry enough that you...
It sounds awful.
that even, like if I were to touch this right here, like that's not a thin white line that I left, but it didn't bleed. It's not a huge deal. I just like to leave it almost to be so clear to the viewer that like this is a whole different like facet. I feel like
face. The face of the gem? I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like I'm using that word wrong, but I can't think of another word. So this is our medium value there. And then this front is a medium. Now it's a medium, but it does kind of lighten as we get to the bottom. So we're gonna start with our color. We're gonna work around this little triangle, baby triangle right there. Spread that out, and then you just gotta add water. Now I like to always kind of blot, when I'm blending out, I like to blot on my paper towel, so then it's not super wet and it doesn't like pool on my paper. Now if you wait too long to blend, almost like what I just did there, is I still have this line right here from where I put that brush mark down. I won't be able to totally erase that out because I waited too long. So if you don't want any lines at all when you're blending your kind of dark to light out, do it as quick as you can. And that way. Sometimes that happens on my paper and I'm not going to stress about it because one, I can't do anything about it. And two, if anything, it just kind of adds a different watercolor texture that I think is just visually interesting, so I'm not worried about it. And just for fun, I'm gonna like just drop in a little bit of the hyacinth at the top, so I get more of a blue purple at the top. Now, as you go, you might be like, I kind of like the pink purple more of the cyclamen, and I wanna kind of do detail work with that. Go ahead. What?
You are permitted.
You can do it. It's your painting. This is step 2, by the way. I didn't transition that very well.
I know it's step 2.
You guys know what's going on. We went to medium. That was step 2. You know it. I know it. We're fine. Okay. And just keep on trucking. This painting is a lot about kind of like patience, and I feel like it's a good skill in terms of like line work because there are so many little sections to fill in, but in the end it comes together and it's pretty cool. This one changes to a lighter value at the end, so I'm just adding some water, letting that transition. Now this I'm not going to do yet because this is the next step. That's my lighter value. But I got some medium values over here. Now the way we're doing this, like with sections, like if you wanted to make this a little more like illustrative, which is like kind of simplified, then what you would do is you would leave the thin white sections like we have between the chunks, but you could do just one value. So you could just fill it in all one color and leave these white sections, and it would still have like a gem-like feel to it.
Illustrative is just without depth, right?
Illustrative is, because like realistic, you focus a lot on lights and shadows and forms and making the objects really three-dimensional. Whereas illustrative is just kind of more simplified. You don't focus too much on lights and shadows. You're not super concerned with making the objects seem three-dimensionals. It's okay if they're still a little bit more two-dimensional, which is like flat. So it's almost like, for me, it's almost just like kind of a simplified version. And try and have the thickness of the white lines that we're leaving kind of the same. So if you got to go back and work on some areas, that's okay. And okay, I just put in this color right here. And this is reading really dark, right? On my reference photo, this is lighter than this here on the sides. I put it in, it's the same value. So all I gotta do is take a damp brush. I'm gonna move to my 2 since it's a small section, and I'm gonna lift up the color and blot it on my paper towels and do that a couple of times until the color actually lightens. There. And now it's a lighter value than the sides. Problem solved. Now these tiny ones, as we get in here, get really tiny. So I'm gonna switch over. I'm gonna switch to my 2. Because it might not be totally clear, but there's actually a little gem spent like poking out right there. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh.
Oh, yes. You might have missed a couple of lines on the outline when you were tracing. I do that all the time. Eyeball it.
By you might have missed a few.
By you, I mean me. I did. But if you did also, you're not alone. And then this one on the side, it's a medium, but it goes to light at the top. So I'm going to start in with my kind of darker value. Add some water to it. Lighten that up. Okay. Should I be talking more?
Sure. Tell us a story about an amethyst.
Okay, I'll tell you a story. So there's this picture I found on Pinterest that it was like this beautiful illustration of like a gem or a rock. It was basically like a big chunky crystal-y thing and it had a ton of different colors. There was a lot of reflections, and it was my screensaver on my phone for a long time. And my husband, he looked at it, he's like, whoa, that is really cool. He's like, what is that? And I'm like, it's a rock. And he started dying because he was asking what type of gem it was. You're supposed to laugh at that, Al. You're our audience here.
I'm the laugh track.
You're the laugh track. I said it was a rock.
Oh!
You. Okay, I thought that story was funnier than I guess it was.
He says it's an amethyst.
So then he just laughed. I still don't know what it is to this day. I don't think it's an amethyst because there were other colors, besides these like purpley ones, but I don't know.
I have no idea what my birthstone is. Not even that.
Really? What's your birth date?
August.
Oh, I don't know.
That ended kind of like
I know like 5 of them, I think. I always look up my daughters and then I forget. Okay, and this one is going to start dark down here and get up lighter as we go.
I got a story. So I says it's a rock.
I'm sorry. Maybe
You get no respect.
I guess it was more of a you had to be there kind of moment.
No.
No? Okay. Other medium value.
I just wasn't ready for the punchline.
Okay. Okay, I think we put in our medium values. We're going to move on to our lights. And if there's a little section that was a medium that we missed, it's not a big deal. We go back, we fix it. Not a problem. Okay, so for the light values, I'm going to take the medium value that I've already made. So this right here, this is a light value section. This right here is light. These little sections are light. I think there's a couple in there. Yeah. This section, this here.
So light.
If you would relax your eyes, Al, you would know exactly what sections are the light sections. So I'm just gonna grab from my medium value over here. I'm just gonna take it off to the side, add water to it. Voila.
I feel like we need a shirt that says, relax your eyes, bro.
Relax your eyes, bro. I would wear it. I'd wear it all day long.
And only watercolors would get it. And people that love 3D painting or 3D pictures.
That's right. And maybe the people that just kind of hang out here and watch us. I think they're out there.
So this is a lot of water and some paint.
So this is like mostly water and a little bit of paint. You can see here that it's just like the tiniest, like a hint of color. Which, if you're not used to watercolor, if you went to go lay that down, you would think, oh, there's not enough paint. I got to pick more up. But watercolor, you're using water as a medium. You got to embrace the transparency of it, the delicacy, how subtle it is.
Sounds really sophisticated.
It does, but it is actually.
Notes of cyclamen.
Yes,
I'm picking up notes.
I'm picking up soft notes of the cyclamon. That's French again. Okay, this one is a lighter. And remember, if you put color down and it's too dark, you can always just add some water and use the color that's already there to blend that out. And you can see here that there are some spaces where, it's touching. My white lines aren't totally clear. Don't stress if you lose a little bit of your white lines. As long as people kind of get the general idea that, those are different, those are edges pretty much, then you're fine. You're fine. So at this point, it's almost kind of just like filling in the white sections here. I wanted my edge to be a little bit darker, so I just dropped in a little bit of color. And then you can use, if you drop in some color in a really wet area and it bleeds everywhere and spreads out, you can actually use your brush to kind of like move it to where you want it to go. So I'm kind of moving all of this color to that very edge of my little crystal. I should have researched amethyst before I came on here. Is crystal the right word? I don't know.
We paint fun things.
We just paint fun, cool things.
You guys don't like our names for them, get out of here.
Get out of here. Or if you know, tell us.
Comment below.
In a nice way. I'm not a scientist, okay? Or who studies rocks?
Geologist.
Geologist. All right, I'm an artist.
I ain't some kind of rock scientist.
And my light values over here, they kind of have a strong colored edge to them. So put that color in, rinse your brush out, let the rest of it be nice and light. That's still a little bit too much darker or too dark for what I want, so I'm taking my damp brush and I'm lifting the color out. Always make sure you have a paper towel when you paint. It's a big deal. So I just kept on going with my damp brush. I didn't pick up any more color. There's a hint of color on it. That's sometimes all I need. If I need a little more colorful area, I just go in, drop that in, and move the paint where I want it to go. And when it gets down here kind of to where all these things meet, it gets kind of like muddled, but not muddled like a lot of colors like brown, just more, it's not super clear where everything is meeting and beginning, and that's okay because how amethysts form from those rocks is it kind of gets a little bit funky where those things get together.
Oh, now you're a geologist.
Now I know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. I think I filled in all of my sections. Is there one you think I'm missing? Am I missing one? Oh, this guy. This little sliver back here is one. Don't forget him. Just a cute little guy back there. Like that. Okay, we finished step 3, which was putting in our light values. And now we're gonna move on and do just some textures, and we're gonna put in the bottom of our rock here. So as you can see on our example, I have some line work a little bit, just little, you know how like when you shave, maybe you don't know, but if you like took a knife to soap and it kind of like has these like parts where it wasn't a clean cut, like your knife lifted a little bit and it sticks out just a little.
Classic.
You know what I'm talking about. You're a soap cutter for sure. Like that's kind of what we're going for here, is just like little jagged edges that it's not a clear cut. And this is also a good opportunity if you wanted, like if you're looking at a section and you're like, you know what, I want this to be a little bit more pink, I need this to be lighter, then go ahead and do that now. I'm gonna add a little bit more pink here. And this is basically just like mainly water with a touch of the cyclamen. And I'm kind of moving that paint that I'm picking up to the edges. Just like that. And sometimes on our dark values that we have here, if it's, because I'm all about about variation. I say that word like a billion times when I'm painting. And sometimes in these dark value sections, it's so dark. We need to let some light back in there. So if there's a section where you're like, that just looks like a chunk of nothing, I'm just gonna like lightly take a brush and just lift up just a tiny, tiny bit of color in it. And just doing that, I feel like you just get a little bit more color variation, just a little bit more detail. Okay, now for these textures that are happening right here, I'm gonna switch to my 2.
You guys know when you're cutting soap, right? I'm not alone in this.
I'm not alone. It's just, honestly, it's those, you know those like oddly satisfying Instagram videos that pop up in your feed? Those soap ones where people are cutting soap always pop up in mine, and so sometimes I'm just sitting there watching them.
The algorithm knows.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so I'm kind of just putting like darker sections. I grabbed a darker value. And then I'm going to move this sideways because it's easier for me to kind of go up. Take a damp brush and kind of like almost do just lines kind of going up, blending out that color that we put down. I keep on cleaning my brush because if you keep on kind of going back and forth on something and not clean your brush, then it's gonna look all one value. I want there to be variation in value, so that's why I keep rinsing my brush. And you can also add touches of pink in there, because, you know, we're all about color here. But these paintings where you're using like 1 or 2 colors, I know we're using 2 colors, but I feel like they're both purple, so it's kind of like one. They're just such excellent exercises in value, because we really are creating form just by lightening and darkening a color. So there's a little bit of line texture over here, and I'm going to kind of blend that out, get it kind of messy. So a little over here. So they're basically just like different lengths of thin lines that I'm kind of straight lines that are kind of going out. And then I just get some water and kind of mess them up just a little so they're not super perfect, so they're not standing out so strongly. And I'm going to lift some color out of here. If it's a large section that you're trying to lift color out of, or a lot of color, then you can pick up your paper towel and use a clean section of paper towel to lift. Got a couple over here, just some texture. Okay, I think I got some good texture down. Maybe I'll do a couple over here. There we go. Okay, now we're gonna do the bottom part of our rock. And what I like to do with that is you wanna make sure, we're gonna put in some dark value and then we're just gonna add water to spread it out. But when you use the water to spread it out, you still want to leave some white spaces. So if you look here at this painting, there are literal chunks within this amethyst that are just white. So kind of when you're kind of spreading that around, don't do like an even, spread across the entire thing. We want to leave some areas white. So get in some strong color. I'm going to kind of go along the bottom here. And this is kind of more of a jagged shape. There's rounded areas. So don't stress out. Like if your paper kind of goes crazy and you mess up, just make your bottom a little bit bigger. Okay, so I kind of have random dark, and then I'm just going to rinse my brush, pat it, and then just like kind of spread this out. But I'm picking up my brush as I'm spreading it out and kind of just spreading in chunks. And that way I still have some white spaces going on over here. You can even, if you want a lot of interesting texture, you can even do water droplets in there. But we just want to show like this came from like this kind of funky round form. I think technically like the place where amethysts come out from, that rock is like brown, like a regular rock. But we're not scientists here.
Are you thinking of a geode?
Yeah, but it's not a geode.
We are the worst geologists.
Just when I was researching amethysts for reference photos, a lot of them, like the bottom part of the rock wasn't the same color. It was like, it looked just like
Come on, internet,
rock.
teach us.
Come on, people, share your knowledge. Okay. That's it, you guys. That's all we had to do. So just to recap, we broke it down really simple. We have an outline for you, and we did it in 4 steps. We did our dark values first, our medium values for our second step. Our third step was our light values, and that last step, we kind of added some texture and we put in the bottom of our rock. So if you painted this project with us, please share it. We would love to see it. We do kits if you just want to make it simple on yourself. We have everything you need in the kit. It's on our website at letsmakeart.com. And if you want to keep up with our projects that we're doing, or just make it easier so you're not ordering every single week for our awesome kits, we have a subscription. So we mail it to you every month. It has everything you need in the month for the 4 projects that we're going to paint and some other projects that we do as well. Now, if you do share it, please tag us in it. We want to see it. Our Instagram name is Let's Go Make Art. You can post it on our Facebook. In the comments on the videos is what people have been doing, and I love it. And hopefully we'll see you Tuesday night when we paint this live.